This is Aaron Levine, LG Insurance Agency, hanging out with my friend Lance Groth, who's actually in Atlanta right now. I can't keep track of where you are, whether it's in San Francisco, New York, Atlanta now. You're going to bring us up to speed on the world of 1031 exchanges,
Yeah.
where before you and I met, I thought it was like you bring the real estate broker in and they just make sure it all happens. But behind the scenes, you are the guy to help people understand and get these 1031 deals done, which is a huge tax benefit, right, for real estate investors and and people looking to maximize profit in any way that they can. So again, thanks for coming on to drop some knowledge and share your wisdom with us, and I appreciate it.
My pleasure, brother.
So you are in Atlanta right now, and I only found that out pre-show because I thought you were in New York, but then you've got all these beautiful shiny buildings behind you and the sun is coming up and it's a little gray here in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Tell me about your business, right? Your business is Growth 1031.
Yeah.
And where did that come from?
Well, it came from law school all the way in San Diego, California. I went out there and I studied literally property and tax law. I think
Goodbye.
most people most people where I'm from,
Most people, when they hear that, they say goodbye too. They're like, I'm checking out. Like,
most people, I came from Hartford, Connecticut, and most people, coming from where I'm from, when they go to law school, they want to be Johnny Cochran, and I was like, I just want to do transaction stuff. So I focused on real estate and tax law, and then found out there's this whole industry for people when they're selling property. There's all these rules to make sure they don't have to pay the taxes. So straight out of law school, I started the company. Went to work for a company. I got really good at it. Asked them to make me a partner. They said no. I said, okay.
You said bye-bye.
Goodbye, my friend. Started a company and just got into the space of literally focusing on educating so many people because kind of like you said, people just think this stuff gets done. They're like, yeah, I sold the property. Somehow I didn't have to pay a dime in taxes. I'm like, yeah, that was me in the back. So yeah, we just specifically focus on tax shelters. We focus on 1031 is like 99% of what we do, but every now and then other tax shelters like Opportunity Zone. But our whole thing is if you have real estate and you sell, people do not realize it is literally the largest taxable consequence of a taxpayer's life.
Sure.
And we make sure they have these tools to avoid that headache because they typically find out about that headache far too late on March 15th of the following year where your CPA is pestering you like, we need to do these taxes.
That's so fun. This is the exact reason why the podcast is called Who You Work With Matters, right? Because you become and you are a major who with respect to people understanding the process and then going through the process to make sure we maximize and also follow the rules, because there's a lot of stringent rules when it comes to these 1031 exchanges, right? There's a lot of dates and numbers and all sorts of things that have to be followed, right?
That's a good word. I should start using that. These rules are stringent.
Stringent.
They are. They're with the 1031. That's literally the name of the game. It's about strict timelines.
Okay.
To give you just a basic understanding, I always like to start off with an example so people get it. The first thing people should understand is a 1031 is to avoid your capital gains taxes. Okay, let's just get that out there because people will be like, oh my God, you do property and tax law. Can you do my taxes? I'm like, personal income? I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. So I like to always start with that. And even when you say capital gains taxes, you'd be shocked. Especially real estate professionals. They go, oh yeah, I know that. I'm like, do you really know what it means though?
Really, right.
So I like to break it down. Capital gains tax, for people who have yet to break down that word, it is you have a capital asset, which is typically a real estate investment, a home, a parking lot, whatever. That is the capital asset. Now,
but you want to be specific that it's a real estate investment, right? Not people's primary homes.
Correct. That is part of, yeah, that's one of the big rules. It's for 1031, but a capital asset is can't be residential property. But for 1031 specifically, it is literally investment or business commercial
Right.
property. So 100% right.
So I don't want people to come into you after they watch the show and be like, "Oh, I'm selling my primary home,
Dude,
and buying a new one."
that's like 20% of my day. They're like, hey, my mom's selling her duplex that she lives in. I'm like, well, stop calling me. 'Cause-
That's the clip that my social media team's going to get. They're going to take out the "stop calling me" and just meme you on that, right? Lance Groth, stop calling me.
but so you let's just say you have a regular investment property, bought a building, you rent it out. The end. It could be in a residential area, whatever.
Sure.
But that's your capital asset. And for example purposes, let's say you bought it at 100,000. Now, in 2 years, amazingly, that property that we bought at 100,000 is now worth 200,000. That is called a capital gain. The capital
Mhm.
asset you bought gained in value.
You're making this way too simple. Keep going.
Hey, I promise you, you gotta. You don't care how complex it is. You gotta break it down to a simple building blocks.
Love it.
Now, that capital asset that increased in value, which gave you capital gain, you go to sell it. The moment you sell that property, the moment your name is taken off of the title report, which is like a birth certificate to a property, ripped off of there, and people give you money for that, that is a taxable consequence. Uncle Sam wants his piece. I always say, whenever you sell any major asset, you pay yourself, pay your wife, pay Uncle Sam. 333. That's literally it, because the taxes between state tax, federal tax, we call your depreciation recapture tax, is actually a blended average of roughly 30 to 33% if you're in the
Mhm.
major tax bracket states like California and New York. So capital gains tax is a capital asset that has a gain. You go to sell it, so you get taxed. And the 1031 is there to make sure you do not have to pay those taxes. You keep that money, because we use that simple example of you have 100,000, it gained to
Mhm.
200,000. But the common example is you have a property you bought 10 years ago, 100,000. 10 years later, it's worth 1 million. You got some real estate agent coming to you every day like, hey, let me sell your property. Let me sell your property. Guess how much I can get for it? What? 1 million? That's 900 profit. That's all people see.
Mhm.
900 profit. But what they do not see, and what the agents typically don't tell them, is that when they sell that property, state tax, federal tax, depreciation, recapture, all these taxes get triggered. And that 900 profit, whether they know it or not, they're going to need to pay 320,000 to Uncle Sam, and their agent typically doesn't tell them that on the point of sale. They find that out when they finally go and see a CBA on March 15th for the following year, when he's like,
Mhm.
hey, remember that property you sold back in February? Yeah, you owe $320,000. So a 1031 exchange allows you to keep that money, and it keeps you literally with all that money, and you only have to do is reinvest into a new property.
So
And
why don't I want to pay capital gains today instead of, obviously we want to defer it as long as possible. It's a deferral in essence,
it's a
right?
deferral. Yeah. But there
So
is a
how come
way
I
out.
don't want to just pay it today and move along with my life, right? We want to use it to reinvest it. I totally get it. But why
Yeah.
wouldn't somebody want to pay it today and not have to pay it tomorrow?
Don't let me get too crazy on here. But I
my
can't.
brain is moving in some special ways right now, because you also keep
What?
talking about the depreciation recapture,
Yes.
right? We see all the time. We want to accelerate depreciation. I'm going to buy this
Every
asset,
day.
right? I'm going to spend a
Right.
$500,000, again, keeping simple numbers,
Yeah.
on a multifamily home, and I'm going to suck all the depreciation out of it in year one,
Yeah.
right? And then in 3 years, I'm going to flip it for a profit, cap gains, depreciation. Like, where does that all, now I
Yeah.
just,
So it's funny. Depreciation is made basically one of the main tax benefits of having investment property. Basically, the government says, hey, due to wear and tear, we understand this property loses value. So we're going to let you deduct some of these, wear and tear as part of, the fact you own this property and it's losing value due to blah, 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 blah. You can take all of these expenses, deductions, take it. And when you sell that property, you have to pay 25% of all that depreciation that you took. That's what people don't realize. That's what get factored into the capital gains.
Okay.
So, sure, take the depreciation, go nuts. When you sell, and if you do not do a 1031 exchange, all those deductions you took, you got to give 25% of it back. But if you do a 1031 exchange, all those taxes just deferred.
So I'm giving 25% of that back plus the 33% on the
No,
capital
no, 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 no.
gains.
The
It,
33% is the 25% is incorporated in that overall
it's
33.
incorporated. All right. So whatever. It's a lot. We're just going to say it's a lot of money
There we
back.
go.
So then we can take that a lot of money and reinvest it into another property, a
All
bigger
you did,
property, accelerate depreciation again, and keep the ball rolling.
keep it moving. And no, think about it. Simplicity. Let me give you a small example, and this is where I will get fancy with it.
Go.
Here's the truth. Elon Musk, what, 800 billion? What is that? Like I feel like in a couple of years, this $1 billion everywhere is a billion. Everyone's saying billion. Everyone's saying, I'm like, when did this happen? I'm still a 100,000-aire. All these billions.
On your tax return, maybe, but you got all
Man,
that
I am a poor man.
accelerated depreciation and 1031 exchanges you're doing for yourself.
But the thing is, now 800 billion is like literally the guy's, approaching a trillion, whatever. Elon Musk, okay, he's worth 800 billion. Like when he needs money, he isn't, hey, let me go to my bank with a 800 billion. The fact is, no, he has assets that are worth that much. So when he needs money, he goes to those assets and he borrows against it. He's not utilizing the actual asset. So with smart investors, the fact is, me personally, I'd much rather have my dollar sit in a real estate asset than sit in a bank. Simple math. It appreciates better. It's more tangible. And if I choose wisely, I can liquidate that thing quickly. I can borrow against it quickly.
Right.
I'd much rather have my money there. So people who are investors, the fact is, when they sell, no, it isn't, all right, let's take this money and throw it all in the bank. No, that's extremely taxable. Don't do that. They take that money and they put it into bigger assets and better assets. So it is specifically built for people who actually want to stay in the real estate space. But the big caveat is, this is how generational wealth, it's literally the biggest generational wealth tool, because I got clients that's been exchanging with me since I got out of law school, like December 11th, 2017. And they've exchanged almost every year to new property, and just building it up, building it up, building it up. And the truth is, they can just keep on going. And should they pass away, when they pass all those properties on to their kids, all the taxes that they've accumulated over their lifetime just gets completely evaporated.
Wow.
It's called the step up in basis.
Now my head's going even further.
I told you don't let me get crazy. But for simple mathematics, it is no. I'm literally dealing with a client right now. He's selling a piece of property and he's like, I got to pay $70,000 a time. I'm just going to pay. I'm like, why? Don't.
Right.
Sell, because you're going to buy another property. Sell your property, exchange it, go into this new property. He's selling at $500,000 and he has all equity. So he goes into a new property of $1 million. So when he goes in there, $500,000, which is all equity, takes another $500 in loan to hit the $1 million mark, and he can just immediately, after a couple months, go borrow against it, pull that money out through a line of credit, through a loan, whatever you want, put it in your bank, because when you sell that property, it just repays that loan. But if you pull it out through that way, a loan is not taxable. So people who are like, I just want to take the money and run. If you are still going to be buying real estate, why? Go and buy the real estate. That will be all equity. And that 500 cash you put in, you can literally pull that out as a loan and put that cash in your bank. Same thing. People just want to pay.
So many things. I feel like going online right now and going to look for something to buy just so I can do this. Because it sounds fun and exciting. Like, let's go, let's do it. So, talk to me about the evolution of your business, right? I'm reading, you dropped Elon Musk before. I'm in the middle of a book right now by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, great author. He's wrote a lot of good things. It's called The Science of Scaling, right? Everybody wants to quote unquote scale their business in some way, shape, or form. And I'm like, part of me is like, I'm good. My business is great. I'm happy. I live a good lifestyle.
Yeah.
Do I really need to quote unquote 10x it as everybody says? Sometimes being humble is okay too. But I'm still into the books because I'm always reading different things, and he uses examples from Elon Musk about the way Elon looks at timelines. If it's too long of a timeline, nothing will ever get done. So what are you doing to accelerate and continue to grow your business? Because you have obviously offices in on the West Coast, East Coast, and now in Atlanta. You know, are you staffing those offices? You just keeping a presence in those metropolitan cities? How are you growing your business?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with Elon. It's just, I'm like, this timeline is way too long. I'm gonna get bored.
Right.
I learned, honestly, to keep it honest, it's when COVID hit, that was the biggest shell shock to me because I operate the same way. It's everything for me. It has to be simple formulas. It's
Okay.
in exchanges. I remember when I worked for a company before I started mine, it was you have to make 200 calls a day. Of those 200 calls, so yeah, this is listen, buddy. Of those 200
I
calls,
love
30
it.
of them have to be follow up, and you have to set 7 workshops a month. That's me speaking in different real estate offices, escrow offices, title lawyers. And
Hmm.
from those numbers, you will automatically get between 20 to 15 exchanges. And then, the math works itself out financially there. Um, when COVID hit and they said you can't put more than 4 or 5 people in a room, I was like, okay. I would literally stare at my bank like, how am I going to pay these people? They're like, look at it. There's a go, another
Right.
debit. Fun. And yeah, it forced me to get creative. And what happened instead of because we used to always host one major, we go out and speak a lot, but we host one major workshop to this day, where we used to put 80 people in a room, and out of 80 people, we knew we had about a 5% conversion rate that would turn into actual clients. So I always try to keep things simple. What are the numbers? Like 200 calls, 30 referrals, 7 workshops, 20 exchanges. Great. One bigger workshop, 80 people, turns into about 6 exchanges. Great. And then COVID came and I couldn't put people in a room and it was terrifying. And I do not know why I didn't think of it before, but I said, oh, I'm going to do a webinar. And funny enough, because at the time I had like 20, no, at the time I had like 16,000 people in my database.
Okay.
I was obnoxious in the first 7 years. I was just 5 years. I was just everywhere talking, give me your card. And I'm one of those people like it stuck when they said 70% of business cards don't get a call back. I'm like, every Friday I sit down, I export my entire Gmail, I upload it to my MailChimp, I follow up, I upload everybody I've met. Like you will, I don't care how, you will never not see business cards on my desk. Like I follow up with everyone. Hey, nice to meet you. Just want to make sure I'm not a ghost. Um, and when in doing that, when I started doing the online webinar, I realized my workshops could only get my local population that I was meeting. But the fact is, I was speaking in Miami, Texas, Austin. So when I did the webinar, it went from 80 people physically in my workshop to 400 people online in my webinar, which, by the
That's
way, is
awesome.
very awkward. Just sitting there talking to yourself, just these are the rules, you know?
You know, it's funny. You provide a service for a fee,
Yeah,
right? You charge people money, and you help them save
thousands,
money so
thousands.
they can significantly invest bigger as they go forward. I try to put a webinar on risk management and insurance. Crickets.
Oh, listen
I'm,
to
you
me.
know,
Don't even do that, dude. Do you know how you think my industry people see? Oh, tax and real estate law. That's definitely what I use to pick up girls at the bar. I'm in tax and real estate. How you doing?
and you've got
You
every broker and their mother thinking they can do it themselves. Like, oh, why do we need to pay him? We're just going to do it ourselves. And
oh,
everybody wants to save $5 to make their lives more complicated.
yeah,
And I'm a big fan of hiring the best of the best, and we get things done faster. And by the way, you put more money in people's pockets than if they tried to do it themselves.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think that's a fact, right? You've got to have a statistic on that. of how much money you keep in people's pockets compared to somebody trying to do all this themselves with their regular hometown community-based CPA who
No, they
doesn't know.
couldn't. Yeah, by law they couldn't. So we're called 1031 exchange accommodators, but the true definition of us is called a qualified intermediary. And to do a 1031 exchange, you have to use a qualified intermediary because the client can never be in constructive receipt of the funds. So that when
Ah,
people do think, oh, my broker handled this, my escrow, literally verbatim in the rule is no party to the transaction can handle the exchange process. Like we
okay.
can't have any interest on the sell, we can't have any interest on the buy. So a lot of times people do think that their attorneys or these people can handle it. It's like, no, they can't because they have an interest in the selling of this deal. So it's mandatory. You must
Right.
use.
So you act as the escrow agent on part of the deal as well, then?
Yeah, well, we're kind of like the escrow in after escrow. Like as soon as
Okay.
because California specifically uses escrow, New Jersey, New York uses attorneys. As soon as the transaction closes, the buyer funds the entire deal. Like the attorneys can't hold on to that funds. And
Right.
even in California, the escrow can't hold on to that funds. So they have to transfer it to an account that we set up and it sits with us. So yeah, we do act as escrow with some very stringent rules that if they don't identify a replacement property in 45 days, or they do not acquire that replacement property in 180 days, then they have some significant taxable consequences.
Interesting. Interesting.
Not,
All right, let's go back to business cards, right? And how regimented you are with managing those.
yeah,
I'm a fan of going to the LinkedIn platform, right? I've been getting really good in the LinkedIn universe over the past 2 years, using it differently.
I feel
So when
like
I meet somebody, I go right to LinkedIn and I social stalk them and I send a message through LinkedIn. I find it easier because my inbox, I'm talking to you for 22 minutes at this point, and I had 40 emails come in. I maybe have one LinkedIn message come in that I'll actually go and look at because
yeah,
it's looks like more of a distraction to go do that as opposed to tackle the issues and what's going on in my Gmail inbox. And plus, I love being able to put social content on there, and that
yeah,
takes me to how you and I connected originally. You and I were
yeah.
connected by Bridget Sorensen from the Blue Water Wave. She's probably talking to you about opening up an Atlanta chapter now that you have an office down there because she's got Florida. She just opened Princeton, Philadelphia. I
No.
mean, she's growing and she's the advocate for the LinkedIn also.
I thought that whole monologue you just gave was specifically so for when Bridget sees it, she goes, "You see, Lance, you see."
She wrote it for me. Thanks, Bridget. No, just kidding. And she knows that. And she knows I love to shout her out whenever I'm speaking to somebody who she initiated the engagement with. So, I'm a big fan of using the LinkedIn in the social platform that it is instead of email because it's not as crowded of an inbox. Same thing with Instagram. Like I'll have full on conversations with prospects, clients, whatever, through social media inboxes because they're attended to a little bit differently than a regular email inbox. It's interesting to see that shift, and I can't be the only one that does it that way.
It was funny. My entire gripe with Bridget, I told her when we first started talking, I was like, I can't stand LinkedIn. Like I said, I have tons of connections on there. I was like, I probably know five of these people, and they're always emailing me, telling me about their birthdays, their job. I'm like, I don't know these people. She goes, you can turn that off, right? I was like, oh, no, you didn't. But thank you. So I'm new to that part, but I agree. It is just kind of more personal. When you email somebody, it's just an email. You might be lucky if you get a signature with a little picture, but the LinkedIn, you do get that kind of more better grasp of these people and their kind of academics and their business and their interests. So
Yeah,
I
you can
agree.
create if you use it correctly, it creates a shift in dynamic.
Yeah, that's the point. If you use it correctly, and as proud as I am to be tech savvy, I am still shamefully poor at on LinkedIn. Like terrible. I can build
Uh,
whole social media campaigns for you. track your activity online, but I can message somebody privately on LinkedIn.
I can drop a cookie in a pixel, but that's after that you're on your own. I'm not going to like your children's photos and all that, but hey, that's why there's so many different ways to tackle this. Now, you mentioned hosting workshops,
Yeah.
in person webinars. You have any coming up right now? You're doing anything big and exciting for you?
Oh, well, in terms of big and exciting, yeah. In moving to Atlanta, I'm actually hosting this event called the Global Exchange, and
Okay.
the reason, and I can send you a link or anything you want from it. I don't know if I can do that in here, um, but
I
anyway,
don't think we can put it on here, but no, keep going.
it's uh, every month we try to have these workshops, but now, especially being new in Atlanta, we wanted to have like a larger kind of presence. And being here, quickly gotten connected with a lot of government officials, and I just recently learned FIFA World Cup is coming here, which pretty much to everybody outside the USA, soccer, or its rightful name, football, is a significant sport.
The conversations in the New York metro areas are also ongoing and exciting with respect to the games. And I'm like, there's 3 games here, there's 3 games there. Like, it's not like it's one stadium. It's Canada, U.S., Mexico hosting games for 3 months. It's kind of cool for
Yeah,
the addict, for the aficionado, for
yeah.
somebody that wants to travel and go watch a lot of live soccer here in the Northeast, or North America, I should say. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so our company basically wanted to do something on a major scale, and I have 2 good friends who have a bit of a celebrity status. One of them is an actor called Malik Yoba. He People will know him for being in films like
Cool Runnings.
Cool Runnings. Yeah, Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. you know, and then I have Lassam Basquiat, which comes from a big art legacy, the Basquiat family. But what most people don't know is that Malik is actually really heavy into real estate development, specifically in Brooklyn, and he's going to
Cool.
come down, talk about his development, talk about what he's seeing, how he goes about things, and then Lassam Basquiat, she's actually really big with a company called Shaping Freedom, which is more so for business owners in terms of managing their stress, setting boundaries, being intentional, the things that, put it this way, the things you and I read, she's just a big proponent of it. So
Hmm.
I wanted to put an event together that, one, gives people that educational tool that I always give them, talking about, hey, these are what's going on when you sell your investment property. This is how to protect yourself. These are some guidelines to follow. But I also wanted to add these guys to basically give the same skill set they give to me. They're like kind of they're friends, but also act as mentors and give
Love
people
it.
more insight into self care, setting systems, setting boundaries, running your business, and really open it up on a global level because of FIFA World Cup is coming. Where I literally have a meeting with Invest Atlanta tomorrow to get the government to partner with us, give everybody updates as to what's going on in Atlanta in preparation for that.
Hmm.
I'm partnering with an international company from St. Lucia. I'm St. Lucian. They talk about international investments and how it can be beneficial for people looking to invest outside the country. So we're just trying to be as pretty much loud as possible and sharing our skill sets, education, and just valuable tools that I think would just be helpful for people really focus on making an impact in 2026.
That's awesome. So when is this event?
March 28th, 6 p.m. in a very fancy location. And you, my friend, are going to get a wonderful invitation. I'm going to give you don't worry about him. He's clear pass.
Uh-oh. All right. Is it? It just means I need a plane ticket down to Atlanta.
Listen to me. I didn't move here because I heard they have good soul food. Like, this place is extremely busy in terms of activity.
All
The
right.
reason,
I
the
love it.
reason I moved to New York was because, I was like, that's the big leagues. But when I got there and watching the exchanges, especially post COVID, there's been a mass migration from California and New York into Miami, Texas, Atlanta, North Carolina. So
Okay.
real estate wise, it's just a lot of activity. So you're definitely getting an invitation.
Very cool. Listen, I appreciate the invite, and as long as personal calendar with my wife gets cleared, there's a good chance I hop on a plane, because that 2-hour flight to Hotlanta in March is it should not be a problem at all. So I certainly appreciate that, man. I'm so interested. I want to go buy something. Like, I just want to like go sink my teeth into some real estate opportunities just so I can accelerate depreciation and then flip it a year later for fun and make some money doing it.
Keep all that money, brother, and go buy something big. All the money is yours, my friend.
I love that. That's so cool. That's so cool. Listen, Lance Grow, thank you so much for connecting with me today. I'm really glad we got to get this done, and I can't wait to see you again in person sometime in the next near future, hopefully on March 28th down in Atlanta for your upcoming event. Sounds amazing, and I'd love to be in attendance again. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.